Recorded. Okay, you guys, good morning. It is Friday and we made it to the end of the week. These weeks can be long and busy, and it kind of goes hand in hand, what I wanted to talk about this morning. And I was, kind of just like recapping this week off, right? And I don't know if I shared this with you guys, but in the beginning of this, I think I did on Monday. In the beginning of this week, right? I was, meditating, I was writing my prayer journal, and I was just stating that like this week, I'm going to, like, this will be like the most like faith week of my whole entire, the best faith week of this whole year thus far. And I'm only going to focus on the promise and not the problems. And I'm going to have a positive mindset. How many of you guys know, like, whenever you make a declaration like that, that's when opposition comes to test to see if you really meant what you say, right? Like, did you really, really mean what you say? And it's funny because throughout the week, I've been getting a lot of messages from others that were facing something very similar. And, it's crazy. Like, this is like some people that don't even watch the Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, like they have no idea. And just talking with so many individuals this week that have been experienced burnt out. And it kind of saddens me, right? Because I don't know if you guys, like, in the beginning of this year, there's been like some studies that were going out, and it was saying that a lot of people that kind of jumped on the entrepreneur wave or entrepreneur bus during the thick of the pandemic, right? Because everybody was like, yo, I'm about to be my own boss. I'm going to take advantage of this time off, figure out what I want, figure out what I want to pursue. What we thought was stable work end up showing that it wasn't stable work, right? People think that, a 9-to-5 is like set in stone and super dependable, but it proved to show that it's not. And I mean, bump just the pandemic, even with like this economical shift that we're having right now. So many like big major companies, not like small Joe companies, but like big companies are having major layoffs, right? But it also, the studies show that a lot of those that started businesses, like they had like the highest record, SBA like had this statistic where it's like the highest amount of people started their businesses within the last 2 to 3 years. But this year has another statistic shown that a lot of those people end them going back into the workforce, right? And it's not to say that one is better than the other, is not to judge anybody who does go back to a 9-to-5. Look, I have kids, like, look, when you have to do what you have to do, you have to do what you have to do, right? Like when you have other people depending on you, your livelihood, right? Like we're not going to be foolish out in these streets. Okay. We're going to use some wisdom, but a lot of people, went back to work, and that's not to say anything bad about it. I will be the first one. To say it, because I get messages about this too. I'll be the first one to say, they'd be like, oh, I really want to like step all the way out there and like leave my job and like just pursue this full time. Like, what do you think? And I'm gonna be like, oh, I'm probably gonna say some things that you really don't want to hear and you can take it how you want to take it. But I'm always gonna say, unless like there is something, is like messing up your mental health or your stress. And then if that's the case, you go get a doctor's note and you go on a sabbatical. Okay. But leverage that 9-to-5, leverage that income that you have to build your business. So that way you are able to build your business even faster. Right. But a lot of people are leaving entrepreneurship because of that entrepreneurship, like entrepreneur burnout. Right. I don't know if you guys seen people talk about like the entrepreneur burnout or like the entrepreneur depressed, because of everything that we are all striving and trying to do. It can be a lot. It can be extremely overwhelming. It said that 42%, like when I saw this study, I was like, man, 42%, like that's a big percentage. That's not like, oh, 10%. It said 42% of all entrepreneurs have reported feeling burnt out in the last year. Okay. And that number is expected to grow, right? This number is to reach minority-owned businesses, with 62% responding to burnout. So for those that are minorities, then that percentage increased by 20%. It went from 42 to 62. And that, I mean, that is so real, right? And then only 53% of that total percentage amount is actually able to survive that burnout, like to not allow it to like ultimately negatively impact their business, negatively impact themselves or their families or everything that they're doing. Only 53%, right? So I wanted to talk about this because, what I don't want people to come off, to get the wrong perception of these Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and like, oh my God, Jasmine, like you just, coming super hard, like we need to do this. I'm like, girl, like how many more steps and sequences, how many more things can I possibly add to my day? Like, let me just focus on being consistent. Can I just focus on waking up before 11? Like, yo, Jazz, chill out, right? And I totally get that. I was listening to a podcast this morning when I was cleaning, and it was talking about how to be able to focus more, like 7 steps to like create a better focus. And all the steps, like they were like, okay, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. But one that I heard that I really wanted to apply to myself. And I feel like implementing this can also help with myself, because I can be very honest. Like I am a workaholic. Like I am that workhorse. Okay. And sometimes I don't know when enough is enough. And I don't know how to like be okay with something not getting done. I don't know, like, if that's crazy, if somebody can relate to that. But me personally, that's my mindset, right? Like, I don't know when enough is enough, and I'm a total workaholic. And if my husband or kids doesn't say something to me, then I could literally be in this office all day. And what's even more crazy is that I'm okay with that. And even what's even more crazy is that, like, I kind of prefer that. I mean, it's super wrong. I feel like I'm in an AA meeting and I'm like having to like talk about my confessions, okay? Because it really is. I had meetings outside the house yesterday, and I was like, oh, I have to go outside. And then I end up halfway there and find out that it was a Zoom meeting. I meant to pop that U-turn so fast, okay? But that is my mindset. But you want to know what else happened also yesterday? Is I had a crash. I had a major crash, and I felt it building up because it was like, I'm super tired, eyes are burning, like end of the day, like I just like pass out. But I had a really bad crash yesterday. I came home and I like passed out. Like my husband is calling me on the phone. I didn't even hear the phone. He comes in the house, he's screaming my name. I didn't respond until like the third scream, as he's like walking up the stairs and like shaking me. And like, it was a complete crash. And the thing about when you're an entrepreneur, you have to be able to learn how to balance things, right? Out of all these things, and I'm like, oh, this is super important. Yes, you must be disciplined. Yes, consistency matters. Yes, this matters, right? And it does, but we have to be able to give ourselves grace, because things do not change overnight. And in no way am I encouraging those to make these changes overnight, because it doesn't, right? We have to give ourselves realistic expectations of when these changes will actually start to show up. I forgot, somebody corrected me on this too, and I forgot the total number, but I forgot like what the total number of how long it takes to actually implement a new habit. If you guys know that number, because I don't know if it's like 60 days, 90 days, 72 days, I don't know. But there's like, even scientifically proven, it is not like, ooh, flashlight on, now I'm changed, or I wasn't disciplined in one area and now tomorrow I am determined, to be, thank you, 21 days. Okay, thank you for sharing that. So 21 days, I was super off. I was giving y'all some major grace in 70, 90 days. But I don't expect for things to be done right away, right? Because it takes grace, and it takes so much work with unwiring our mindset. And the last thing that I want any and all of us in the community, entrepreneurs, minorities, is to be able to not be so hard on ourselves and to give ourselves grace. Because ultimately the last thing that I want is for you guys to experience burnout, right? So these were the messages that I was receiving. Like, girl, I don't even know what happened. I just couldn't do it no more. Like, it was like I needed a break, and I just needed a break. But then when they return back, it's returning back so long. And am I saying that's bad? No, because you have to do what's best for yourself, right? But if we can prevent from that burnout moment even coming, right? The goal is to try to prevent from this burnout moment even coming, right? Because stress takes such a big toll on our bodies, on our mental health, as emotionally, right? And the thing about it is, for those that have families and others that depend on them, is that we are not the only ones that suffer from this burnout, right? We're not the only ones that suffer from the things that we're trying to pursue either. That our most inner circle also feels that as well. So I wanted to talk about some ways to try to prevent burned out, right? And then some ways to try to help you recover from that burnout if you feel like you are getting to that phase. Because it's very important that we are self-aware of our things, right? So my husband was talking this morning, and he was like, yo, that was real crazy. I was like, yeah, I know. Like my body just must have needed. And what I'm doing is I'm basically burning the candle at both ends, right? Still waking up super early, but not going to bed early enough either, right? And I can have the most discipline and vision and work ethic, but like, if I can't physically pursue the things because I've like crashed, then I'm ultimately no good, right? And burnout, if you don't even know, like if you have burnout, right? You're like, nah, I'm good. Like I'm a little stressed. I feel a little pressure, but these are signs of what entrepreneur burnout is, right? And entrepreneur burnout, it's a real thing. Like this is a real study, a real statistic, a real definition. Okay. So burnout really looks, and these signs really look like you have low energy, okay, lack of motivation, and very irritable. Okay. Those are like some of the tell signs of burnout. Of course, you feeling stressed, or overwhelmed. And now, we know ourselves, right? We're talking about being self-aware. We can tell when the stress is like our normal stress level, like it's just a little pressure, right? Because we have to be able to identify what's stress and what's pressure. Pressure is to help us, to help build us, right? But if you notice that it's getting to the unhealthy side, then that's when it's like super overwhelmingly stress. Now, yes, is there better ways to react to that, to where it is pressure, but it's too much pressure and it's converting into stress and it's showing up in other areas? But that's essentially what entrepreneurship burnout looks like. Entrepreneur burnout looks like. And we can face it in many cycles, because like there's levels to us growing and evolving and working in our business. Even with the cleaning business, right? The first level is building the foundation. That may not be so hard. Now, if you guys are like some of the ones that we have that's in New York and they got to do this publication and somebody else talking about it's going to take 60 days to get their articles back. Yeah, those are stressful situations, right? But this may be the easiest phase of your business. Now, when you get into that finding cleaners situation, it may get a little bit more stress, right? In business, getting clients, you have pressure, you have that stress. But baby, when you like in it and you like in it, and your business is rolling, there's other levels of stress that's going to come with that, right? You're worrying like, oh my God, my client's going to show up on time. Is my client's going to like it? Are they going to want a refund? Can I make them happy? Are they going to leave a review? Can I get them become a reoccurring, right? All the things of all the things is coming at you, but there's different levels to this, right? And it's not saying that you are weak. It's not saying that you ain't got no backbone, right? Because we hear some of these like these old school phrases, right? I don't know. I grew up in a very typical African-American household, right? To where any signs of weakness was like looked upon negatively, like, right? Like, grow a backbone, like, come on, you know what I mean? Like, these type of phrases were used, right? In youth sports, and a dad's conversation with a son, right? And over time, we're now knowing like, maybe those are not the best type of characteristics that we really want to develop in our kids, right? But so you having to feel like, oh, I got to keep going, I have to keep going, that is only going to drive you in the ground. I don't want to say like physically, but like burnout wise, if you can't handle it healthy. So we have to be able to practice balance. So let me share with this, with what I was listening to with the podcast. So the podcast was talking about like, there's this method that is scientifically proven to increase productivity and increase focus, right? So increase productivity, but also like the level of focus you have doing that thing. And so they're basically saying that multitasking is like one of the worst things that you can do. It actually decreases the level of work that you can produce in those things that you're trying to do at the same time. And they said like the best way to be able to work is to be super hyper focused and work on one thing at a time for 25 minutes, then take a 5-minute break. And during that 5-minute break, you're not looking at your phone, you're not on the laptop looking at social media or anything. Like, it's literally, you're kind of closing your mind down, right? You either stepping outside to get some sunlight, some fresh air, grounding your feet, taking your shoes off and getting grounded. Or if you don't go outside, then you're just taking some deep breaths, right? And just focus on a mindfulness, right? And then you come back. And if you have a big task, then you will do the same thing for 25 minutes, rest 5, right? And you do this in only three increments, right? So 75 minutes max of work. And then after that, you then take a 20-minute break. Totally step away from your workstation and just, clear your mind and kind of just relax. And then you can come back and start that 3 cycle again. So I'm really going to try that this coming week to see if I can notice a level of focus and production increase, because I do tend to multitask because I am working on so many things at the same time. And that's a lot for all of us, right? We are trying to juggle so many things at the same time. And we're trying to juggle and do everything at the highest level that we can possibly do to be able to get the results we want. And don't let it be somebody that's trying to get to the results fast, right? I'm trying to get there as fast as I can. Then that even increases your level of burnout that you're going to receive at a quicker point than somebody else would. Okay. And that's just not healthy. It's not good for your business. It's not good for yourself. And I know, people always be like, self-care, like whatever your self-care is. Okay. I don't really have too much to say about that, because I'm not a person that really practice self-care, which I guess is a bad thing now I'm saying it out loud. Because I really love I love this. I love doing what I do. So it's nothing that I feel like I need like separation from. I just want better ways to work on production in a sense, but I don't want that level of crash that I received either, because I'm no good to anybody. Okay. So the best way to be able to recover from burnout, right? The number one thing is getting enough sleep. And this was my cause of that effect of that major burnout, because I was not getting enough sleep. Still disciplining myself to wake up, but not really disciplining myself enough to go to bed on time, because sleep is so important. That's the only time that our bodies have to like for our brains to rest, like to be able to, what's that little flush thing? Nikki may know what I'm talking about. Some little fluid goes through our brain and flushes things out, right? Like that's the only time our body has a time to do that. Like we need that, because otherwise we're just running on fumes, and we're no good anyways, right? I'm no good anyways if I can't fully healthily function. So getting enough sleep, which we talked about this on Wednesday, with having enough discipline to turn the TV off and don't try to watch a whole season in one night, right? Or setting boundaries with friends and others to make sure that you're in the bed, sleep, okay? That is super, super big, right? The next one is building a team, hiring people and putting them in place to work on the certain tasks that really don't bring you joy, right? Those things that like I would rather not. Hiring, research, building out your booking koala because it has so many steps, right? Being able to hire people, because now you're taking a workload off yourself. You're taking a task off yourself where you don't have to do that. And I think this is so fitting, because this has been like a powerful week that I've seen so many people talk about adding to their team and hiring and looking for a VA. Like adding that aspect to my business when I first did that was a lifesaver. Oh my God, the amount of relief that I felt was like none other. It like I mentioned the other day, like it really helps position yourself as like what this type of model is supposed to do to make you be the CEO. So where that way you're not doing all the things, but you are delegating for them to do all the things. And being able to put somebody in place really takes a really big workload off yourself. Just those tasks that don't bring you joy, just assign it to somebody else. And then kind of reconnecting with your passion and your why and your vision, right? Because sometimes we can be so focused that we lose sight of what we're working on, right? We lose sight of that emotions that is tied to the vision, right? Because when I think of the vision, it's linked up to an emotion, and my emotion is peace, right? My emotion, that what I feel like I'm working so hard for, is peace. It's to be able to, it's time, it's freedom, it's not being locked down to anything, it's not being stressed about financial burdens, right? It's peace. Like that is what I seek. And that is what I work so hard for. So you being able to remind yourself of that very thing will help you recover from that burnout, because it gets you kind of back. It kind of gets you back anchored on that, right? Spending time outside of your work, right? With those people that will bring you joy. I always say, like, there's two people. I don't want to say there's two people. There's either people in your life is going to add to you or take away from you. Okay. They're either going to suck the life out of you and be a black hole. Like, you ever be around those type of people, like when you leave, you'd be like, "Whoo, Jesus, like, girl, I thought I had issues," right? Like, you ever leave, like you're hanging out with people, and then when you leave, like you need to like sit in your car and decompress, right? Or there's people that will add to you, that will make you leave and feel excited about life, excited about what you're doing, that will motivate you, pour into you. Be around the people that's going to pour into you, okay? And sometimes that is setting healthy boundaries, even with family and loved ones and friends, right? But we have to ultimately do like what's best for ourselves. Another one is community. Community is super big, especially with entrepreneurs, because a lot of entrepreneurs feel like they're doing this alone, right? Because like I said, I'm in this office, I'm working on things on my own. Like I have my vision, I know what needs to be done. But community is amazing because you guys understand, right? You may be like, nah, Jasmine, I'm not a workaholic like you, girl. But I understand, like I get you, right? Like you are me, I am you. Like I understand what you're working on, and being able to have that community that you can vent to and they'll understand. Because if I go to a avid corporate 9-to-5er, they'll be like, what? Girl, please, you tripping. Like you big tripping, okay? Like they really won't understand. They won't understand my why, and they won't understand my struggle. But my community will. I can come to my community and I can vent to my community, and they're going to help me to identify areas where I could provide resolutions to those things, or just be a listening ear and completely understand. Having community is so key. And I feel like, the pandemic and, social distance took away from that a lot, which brought on a lot of depression, after that happened. But now we're back into a season to where live events and in-person events is like more popular than anything, because people are seeking community, and community is the only thing community is a group of like-minded individuals that are relatively like in the same boat, after the same mission, doing the same things because they understand, right? And then strengthening your social relationships, networking and people. Because I'm an introvert naturally, I will sometimes feel like I don't really need networking or friendships or people, because look, I can be in my house, give me some popcorn that's cooked on the stove, old school style, and some Netflix, and I'm good. I don't need to be out without, like, I just want to be home, like give me my comfy socks and my sweatshirt, and I'm good. But having a good social relationship helps you to decompress and separate yourself from work and all the things you're working on, because that is a real heavy weight it's a heavy weight that we voluntarily pick up and want to carry, because we know that where we're bringing it to is going to get us that result. It's going to bring us to the vision. I know that's going to bring me to a level of peace that I'm seeking for. But we need balance, and in everything we need balance, right? Like this, you can't be too overly social and you can't be too overly heavy on the workload, right? It's all about balance. And that was literally my key word for this year, was working on balance. And this burnout, this little crash episode I had last night, it just reminded me of how important I really need to like get back focused on what I wanted to work on in the first place this year, is balance, because I know that I just can't be so workaholic and just forget about everything else, right? But sometimes we can be so involved in our vision and what we're trying to do, and trying to do all the things of all the things, and we're no good because we hit that burnout. So I really wanted to talk about this topic because, like I said, I received a lot of messages from people this week. I think yesterday I was probably talking to like 4 to 5 different people that was sharing their burnout that they're having with being with having their cleaning business, with whatever phase they may be in. And they're just super overwhelmed and they just feel like quitting. But I don't want you guys to quit. Let's find ways that we can identify us reaching to those areas, to those levels, and then being able to recover from that. So that way we're not just hitting a plateau. Because I don't want to say that's the worst place. There could be worser place, but I just want you guys to be able to have good self-awareness, identify it, be able to put the things in place to overcome it. Because those statistics that I listed in the beginning, 42% experience burnout, like 40% of all entrepreneurs, that's like really high. And then 62% for minorities, that's really, really high. And then only 53% of those people recover from that. That's an alarming statistic. Like that's super alarming. And I don't want us to get to there. Okay. So on this Friday, my goal is that you guys will be able to increase your self-awareness and ask your guys self, like, am I feeling burnout? Am I overly stressed? Am I super irritable? Right? Am I reacting or and doing things that's really not of my character? Am I low energy, not motivated to do all the things? Like when we first start, we're super gung-ho. Am I like depleted of that? And if your answers truthfully come back to yes, any of those, then go back to the areas where I said that will help you recover from that. So that way you don't hit that burnout, right? And then you'll be able to have your bounce back, because that bounce back is amazing. But I want you guys to be able to get to the bounce back and not be that 53% that don't come back. Okay. So I hope this has been good. I'm excited that the week is coming to an end because I'm going to rest this weekend. I have soccer all weekend, but I'm going to rest because I need to refuel, and I'm noticing those burnout sequences and I don't want to crash. I want to be able to sustain. Let's see, I see some comments in the chat. I even see Miss Charlene join us live. Hey, love. I love being able to see other faces, not just my own. And I like that lipstick color too, girl. It's cute. Let's see, they don't understand at all. And no, it's true. They really don't. Because people be like, why are you volunteering yourself to do all of this? Yesterday, that was for me too. I just wanted to quit, but I'm not. Thank you. You are so welcome. And yes, we will feel like we want to quit because sometimes we're conditioned to think like that's the only answer to the burnout. But the answer to the burnout is trying to figure out how to recover from it. So don't quit. If anything, and depend on the levels that you're at, you may have to take a tiny step back and recover, and then put healthy boundaries and put healthy things to help balance your workload. So that way you can come back and continue. But the only time that we lose, right? The only real definition of failure is quitting, and quitting on yourself, right? And I'm not saying pause or stop or take a break, but quitting. And we are not meant to be quitters because we're entrepreneurs. It takes a different breed to be an entrepreneur, right? We would have never stepped out on faith and put this title on ourselves if we were designed to be quitters. And that's the only time that really we fall into failure, is when we decide to quit a thing, not pause it, not take a break, but quit. Those two words are completely different. So I hope this has been good. So I challenge you guys to take a self-evaluation, and don't take it as shame. Don't take it as like, I ain't got no backbone, I'm not built for this. Look, life is hard, because life is hard outside of this. You know what I mean? Like, we're adding on a whole nother thing. Like, life in general comes with so much things, and now we're just adding on an extra thing. Like, do we need an extra thing, right? But if I had to do this all over again, I'm always going to choose yes. Even if I stopped this, which I'm never plan to, but God forbid if I did, all I'm going to do is go start something else, because it's in me. Like, I don't have no other thing but to be who I was created to be. So I hope you guys have a good weekend. For Facebook, let me go see that you guys have anybody dropped anything in there. But this will stay live in the Facebook group circle. I'll get this added in the circle. Let's see. Thank you guys so much for joining us on Facebook. I see y'all. Sherry, Jackie, I can't see all the names. But yes, thank y'all for joining me this morning. I hope you guys have an awesome day in this week out super strong. Do your self-evaluation. If you feel like you're creeping up to that burnout, evaluate yourself and let's find balance. And like, if you're not at that burnout, I'm so glad you're not. But now let's implement balance so that way you won't get to there. Okay. So that way we can put those preventative measures in place. All right. So I see you guys later. Have an awesome weekend and I will see you guys on Monday. Oh, tonight is Friday. We are having our makeup live Q&A tonight at 7 p.m. I know my schedule did something super funky and it said it was on Wednesday, but it is tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time. The Zoom link is in the membership schedule. So I will see you guys tonight at 7 p.m. And for everybody else, I will see y'all on Monday morning. All right. Bye, y'all.